plus the 16-year-old from California of whom the framers of the Constitution would be proud.
I support AJR 30 for the Convention of States because all these issues will negatively affect my generation's ability to prosper. And in this process, I would encourage the repeal of the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution so the states may control their own finances.
Now, in California, there is a young man who is watching all of this waste, fraud, and abuse by the federal government, and he's trying to do something about it. 16-year-old Grant Carson is urging his representatives to support an Article 5 Convention of the States to amend the Constitution.
I implore you, as our state legislators, to fulfill your duty and restore and protect the constitutional powers that belong to California and the states.
So he's not even old enough to vote, yet this kid has a better grasp of what to do about Washington, D.C. than the people who represent him. Joining me now from the OANN newsroom, California high school student and advocate for an Article 5 Convention of the States project, Grant Carson. Grant, first of all, your parents know you're on TV, correct?
Yes, they do, Mr. Ledger, and thank you for having me.
Of course. I want to ask you, how does a senior in high school, a very young senior in high school at that, at 16 years old, in a very, very blue state, get engaged in the Article 5 Convention of the States project?
Yeah, Mr. Ledger, I've been homeschooled pretty much my entire life, so I've had the ability to travel the entire world, see what's out there, meet people of all different walks of life, and tour this country learning our history. And in California, there are some local political groups, and I've got involved with them, and they understood my abilities, and they said, hey, you want to be our spokesperson? We're going to present this resolution before the California Judiciary Committee. And I said, absolutely. So I did it, and hopefully we'll get some more representation.
And so you're a proponent of AJR 30. Tell me about that piece of legislation and what's its status.
Yes, AJR 30 has two primary components, which is imposing fiscal restraints on the federal government and also reining in their power, whether that be in finance, in water rights, regulation, whatever that be. So that's the situation there, and it did not pass in committee. However, we're hoping to get it reintroduced again next year.
What about the larger picture of a state like California even participating in a convention of the states? There are 8 states who have signed on so far, many of them in the South. I think Alaska is on board. 3 or 4 have joined this year. Is California proffering any kind of legislation to participate in the Convention of the States?
Well, we did get the resolution drawn up. There was a lot of spite in the legislature to draw it up and a lot of backdoor deals and different things like that. But things look hopeful. We had 30,000 petitions signed. There are many people who still want a remnant of our liberty left. And you just look at the astronomical debt. That's ridiculous to anybody. So hopefully the people will get it and will stand up in California. So there is still a beacon of hope.
When you go to Sacramento and you talk to your representatives, do you get the feeling that you have to educate them about the Convention of the States and Article 5 in the United States Constitution?
I actually don't. They know what's going on. And in fact, a similar resolution they actually voted for to trigger a convention of the states for a smaller issue. So they knew about Article 5, they know the process, and they know the Constitution as well. There was a lot of enmity there between them and the people they represent because they really don't want to rein in the power of the federal government. They like their position right now. They like their federal subsidies. They like having the federal government where the federal government shouldn't be. And that's exactly why our founders put in the we the people part of Article 5, because oftentimes the government isn't going to want to control itself. So that's why we're doing what we do.
You talked about the debt. Among some of the ideas and the amendments that have been proffered is a balanced budget requirement, amendment to the Constitution, also term limits. But you also talked about repealing the 16th Amendment. It's a very interesting concept because the 16th Amendment, of course, changed the way the United States Senate is apportioned and the way people vote. It used to be, of course, under the 16th Amendment, prior to the 16th Amendment, that the Senate was apportioned through the state houses, and now we have this direct election. But it changed the entire representation and federalist mode of this country. Again, not too many 16-year-olds can comprehend that concept.
Yeah, definitely. And that was specifically the 17th Amendment where it talked about the apportionment of representation and it takes it out of the state's hands. And while people would say that that moves us to more democracy and the people are in charge, that breaks our Republican form of government where we have representatives in a state and they block the people from overreach of the federal government. So when that's taken out, well then the federal government can just come in, implant its roots within the states through financial subsidies and whatever, and then control the people directly.
That's right. 17th Amendment changed the Senate. 16th Amendment, of course, direct taxation.
Yep.
It would be great to abolish the 16th Amendment, as you mentioned as well. Now, whatever you do, keep on your course. And if there's any of your peers who give you any trouble, we want to know about it, because from this point on, you're our official representative in the state of California for the Convention of the States and Article 5 Convention. And you're homeschooled, correct?
I am, yes.
All right. Well, Carson, you're a great credit to your parents and your state. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
We will give you all the tools you will need and proudly stand shoulder to shoulder with you as we recruit, train, mobilize, and engage the largest grassroots army in the history of the United States. So be a part of the movement that refuses to let liberty die and stands up for our children and their future.